Thank you very much. And again, I just want to echo the words that were said and really compliment you on your work and your dedication. And I just appreciate your leadership, especially during these difficult times. I just want to jump right in with regards to CVE. I was happy that this committee has passed 2 bipartisan bills, has made it very much a priority. We passed authorization for the Office of Community Partnerships. I really am grateful for the leadership of Senator Carper and Senator Johnson in helping this committee to come together around these issues. And I'm pleased to see that the funding that was in this bill and the DHS-led CVE work really becoming a part of the President's budget, which is something, again, I'm very grateful. $49 million has been requested for the DHS's CVE efforts. If you look closely, unfortunately, at least I seem to see it that way, we see $10 million requested in grant funds for CVE-related activities at the local level and $39 million for activities targeted at preventing and preparing for, and this is how it reads, responding to complex coordinated terrorist attacks. And so my concern with this language is that the majority of this money would be spent on preparing for a law enforcement response, which CVE is intended to create partnerships for community groups to do work to prevent radicalization really before law enforcement gets involved. So it seems almost as if this funding is not really targeted towards the idea of CVE in the first place. And so how do you really envision this money being spent, and how can we ensure that we're really bolstering some of the efforts that we're already starting to see some signs that they could be very fruitful in general, as opposed to the law enforcement response that sort of ignores, to me, community organizations, universities, educators, tech folks, and others?
Yeah. The language you read is for 16, right?
Yes.
Yes, right. Yes, to be candid, I had the same reaction you have. We learned we had $50 million for CVE, but then upon closer examination, $39 million of that is for terrorist attack preparedness, which is important, but it leaves just $10 million for our CVE efforts. As I explained earlier, CVE is a huge priority. One of the things I heard repeatedly when I'd go to these communities in Minneapolis or elsewhere is we need resources, we need help supporting our efforts at the local level. My recollection, Senator, from the language you read is that there was some line in there that gave me some flexibility in terms of how we allocate that, but I could be wrong.
And I'll just say, just to get to my next area of questioning, is that, you know, you and I both know budgets reflect priorities. We could say that this is a priority, but really the paucity of investment being made in what I've found from being a local leader, and I know you know this better than I do, is that creating these partnerships, creating these relationships is incredibly valuable, not just in CVE efforts, but also in helping to detect radicalization in the first place. So I would just really talk about the importance of that. And one thing I want to say is I'm curious if your folks can get back to me about this. There's a lot of concerns coming from the Muslim community that all this is focused just on the Muslim community, when we know there's radicalization in, say, neo-Nazi groups and others that have, and hate groups that have perpetrated violence and terroristic activities within our communities. And I'm hoping that some of the CVE efforts is focused there as well. But just a real quick, being that you and I have this kinship in the love of the state of New Jersey, I just want to bring to your attention.
I love the taxes I pay there too.
Yeah, we appreciate the taxes you pay, sir, even though you spend so much of your time here. But I really need you to comment on something that I get so much anger and frustration from people that live in our metropolitan area, which is the lines at Newark Airport, which are just outrageous. The holiday season, I'm sure perhaps you do know that it was reported that we had such long lines that it led to delays exceeding an hour at some of these. It led, as one single airline reported, about 200 passengers missing a flight. I believe that we've got to do something to create more efficiencies. I get people coming screaming at me on social media and the like, just so frustrated about this particular airport being worse than others in our country. And so my question is with the plus up in funding for TSA in the president's budget, what flexibility you have on focusing on where the problem is. I fly into other airports in our region, and I just don't see it as bad as what people are experiencing. We now have spring and summer travel seasons approaching. Can't we do something to alleviate this outrageous problem that rightfully is angering people at the Newark airport?
A couple of things. First, part of the increase in wait times is due to increased volume of air travel. That is a fact. Part of it is due to the increased volume of air travel. Part of it is also due to the reemphasis that the administrator and I have put on airport screening of those in the longer lines. So one of the things you could say to your constituents, Senator, is, join TSA PreCheck for the shorter line. That is one way to get through faster. With respect to the budget, it is the case that in 16 and 17, we have reversed a steady decrease in the number of TSOs for this reason. This budget submission reflects holding steady on it with an emphasis on technology so that we're not, focused solely on risk-based strategies that lead to a decrease in personnel. We've reversed that trend to deal with, wait times and the like, but the increased volume is also contributing to this, without a doubt.
And so can somebody just get back to me with, I understand the pre-check warning, but I mean, we tell people to show up an hour before their flight, and it seems like we should be telling them 2 hours before their flight. Can somebody get back to me with a plan to reduce wait times, if there is one, for Newark Airport?
Well, as you know, Senator, a lot of it depends on whether you're Terminal A or Terminal C.
Understood.
Right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.